Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. Grace and peace to everybody. I pray that you have had an amazing day and a great weekend. So, I am here tonight doing a pop up, something that I haven't done in a while, but I felt it necessary to come on tonight and to share some things and to answer some questions. So, welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for being here. As you guys are coming in, let me know where you are watching from. Let me know where you're watching from. I am live on Facebook, live on my personal page and my business page, I believe, and also live on Instagram. First time I've done that. Live on Instagram and live on YouTube. So I'm not going to be long. I was already live today, so I've had my share of speaking and talking for the weekend. I was in Dallas actually Friday night into Saturday, and God met us there. And so my voice is a little shaky from that last assignment of the year, but God really moved and had his way. And I'm excited about what this new year is going to bring. I see Chicago in the house. Y'all talk back to me. Let me know that you're here. Chicago is here. Thank you so much, sir, for being a part of this. You guys hang in with me. I have just some information to share, and also I'm gonna teach a little bit. So you kind of hang out for that, and let's make it do what it do. So last weekend, of course, a few days ago, which we're still in the weekend, I said that I was in Dallas, but last weekend I was home in Mississippi. Georgia's in the house. Good evening. I was home in Mississippi and just kind of riding along the beach. And water is one of the primary places that God speaks to me. So I love being around water. The Bible says that the voice of the Lord is upon the waters. So I always hear God well, even more clearly when I'm around water. So at home, back home where I'm from, Gulfport, Mississippi, just kind of riding along on the water. I had an assignment there, and this just dropped out of nowhere. And of course, I say out of nowhere, but it was not out of nowhere. It was actually God that dropped this on me. And so, what he dropped on me was a charge to train and to certify 50 mental health coaches in the year 2026. Yes, he gave me the charge. This came straight from God. to train. And I will say that it came straight from God because I had already kind of laid out my first 2 quarters, and I wasn't really planning on doing anything extra. I wasn't planning on doing any mentorship. I was actually going to hold that off to the third and fourth quarter of 2026 because already the demand is great. And I praise God for that. There's a lot going on, there's a lot to build. But I just want to drop this before I go forward that 2026 is the year to build it. I said 2026 is the year to build it, whatever it is. And I've been decreeing that, prophesying that as the Lord gave it to me a couple of months ago, and I'm gonna keep saying it until He tells me to stop. But 2026 is truly a year to build. It is a year to build that business, to build that program, to build that ministry, to build that family, to build that nonprofit. It is truly the year to build that event, that brand, whatever God has placed on your heart. There is a special grace that I call but Noah. Genesis 6 and 8, but Noah found grace in the sight of God. And I didn't get on here to do all of that. But as soon as I mentioned it, my spirit just started getting stirred because He's been talking to me that there is a special grace on the people of God, on the believer to build. And you're going to see people who don't profess to be believers, who are not believers in the Lord Jesus Christ. You're going to see them building things, and you're going to see them having great success because He reigns on the just as well as the unjust. But you're going to see that because it is just time to build. It is not time to cower down. It's not time to be in imposter syndrome and all the negative thoughts that we experience often. It is not that season. It is time to put on strength and put on confidence and boldness and just build what God has commissioned you to build. Only you can build it. Only you can build it like you build it. And if anybody else tries to build it, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're copying you, but they won't get the same results because there's a special grace on you and on your life to build what God has commissioned you to build. So even if somebody is doing something similar, they can't do it like you do it when you do what you do. And what you do is what God has called you to do. And so I want you guys to really posture your hearts and your minds to believe God for what He's commissioned you to build. Now that I got my little preach out of the way, you know how us preachers do. Now that I got that out of the way, that was really resonated into my spirit. And God just dropped this idea on me to train and to certify 50 mental health coaches in the year 2026. And so I obeyed Him a few days later. It took me some time to kind of chew on it. But I obeyed Him and I set this program up. The program started and we opened enrollment. I think it was the day before Christmas Eve. So December 23rd, we opened this up. Not even a week ago. That hasn't been a week yet. Tuesday will make a week. And listen, guys, this is the grace to build. Already, we are almost sold out. Did you hear me? We are almost sold out of this certification program. So I'm doing cohort 1. There are only 5 seats left. Yesterday, I was posting saying that there were 11 seats left. And then all of a sudden, there were 6 seats and then 5 seats. So now we're at 5 virtual seats left. And thank you to everyone who has signed up. We are filling up quickly. And again, this particular cohort is only open to 25 people. So program begins in March. It'll be 8 weeks of intensive training. If you've ever been in a training with me, you know that I'm a teacher trainer. That's one of my gifts. And so I'm going to really be training for 8 weeks. It's going to be held on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Central Time. We're going to be doing 2 to 2.5 hours of live training. And then there will be a replay that will be available inside of our portal for those that happen to miss a training session live. So tonight, I just wanted to kind of come on and do this final push for the program because, again, we only have 5 seats, really 5 seats left. And so I want to talk about what is mental health coaching. And even if you don't plan to sign up for the program, there's no pressure there. You can stay on because I'm about to go into my teaching spiel here. But I want to talk about what is mental health coaching. And I see you guys, I'm transitioning over to um, Instagram. I don't know if you guys, okay, you can see me. Great. Okay, I can't see your comments on this side. So I'm going to have to go back and forth. Okay, that's inconvenient. Anyway, so what is mental health coaching? First, let me say this. Mental health coaching is not therapy. Okay, let's get that out of the way. Mental health coaching is not therapy. Mental health coaches, somebody just signed up, so now we have 4 seats left. Mental health coaching or mental health coaches are not therapists. All right, so what is mental health coaching? Mental health coaching focuses on setting goals and building practical strategies to handle everyday challenges. And so when someone says, I want to connect with a mental health coach, a mental health and wellness coach, they are generally trying to set some type of wellness goals for their life. And so therapy often focuses on the past, it focuses on healing the past, it focuses on healing trauma, but coaching is more goal and action oriented. Okay, coaching is more what? Goal and action oriented. And so coaching focuses on the present, like what's happening now, and the future, your future goals, the future state that you're trying to reach. And so therapy can also focus on, you know, the present and the future, but coaching really gives you those practical skills and strategies and techniques that you need to move forward. Therapy, on the other hand, focuses more on not the challenge itself sometimes, but therapy really digs. Okay, therapy really digs, and therapy is great. I am a therapist and a coach, so I'm going to show you kind of both sides and help you to determine which one you may need. And then for those of you that want to sign up for the certification program to help you understand why you may need to become a coach, right? If this resonates with you. So therapy can focus on the present and the challenges that you're having. But then it begins to dig around, like, why is the challenge happening? Like, what is this connected to? Right. So therapy, again, it does a lot of digging, but coaching can come in to help you or help a person to overcome the challenge that they are experiencing. So if someone is trying to improve their overall mental and emotional well-being, coaching is a really good choice. Okay. Again, if you're trying to improve your overall mental and emotional well-being, and not trying to get a diagnosis or anything like that, not trying to dig into past trauma, coaching, mental health coaching is a good choice because, again, mental health coaching, it teaches coping skills such as stress tolerance, right? Stress management, frustration tolerance. It helps you to create smart goals. Coaching is really for people who feel stuck. Okay, they feel stuck emotionally, they feel stuck mentally, and they're trying to get to the other side of that. When I first started doing coaching many years ago, I had a program called Get Unstuck. Get unstuck. And that's because I kept hearing people come to me and say, I just feel stuck. So that was a common theme that I was hearing. And I said, well, let me just name this program Get Unstuck, right? So that people can get the tools and the strategies that they need to unstick themselves. Yes. And so mental health coaching also supports clients in building things like emotional regulation, getting insight, building resilience. That's what mental health coaching does. Now, I said this before, blessings to all of you that are coming in. Coaching and therapy do have some similarities. Okay. So they do overlap. Hey, Houston, House of Roy Houston. Coaching and therapy have some overlap. They have some similarities, but they are not the same. Okay. So though mental health coaching may resemble traditional therapy in many ways, and I tell clients, excuse me, it may even feel therapeutic, right? It may feel therapeutic, but it's not therapy. Professional coaching is distinctly different from psychotherapy and psychoanalysis. How is coaching different from therapy? Glad you asked. So coaches, do not and should not be diagnosing. So when you see a mental health coach, even a life coach, their responsibility is not to diagnose you, right? They're not to tell you that you have anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, any of those things, because coaching has a certain limit to the practice, and you cannot and should not diagnose people. That's actually illegal. Coaches do not prescribe or speak to medication. Okay, so again, the coach has a certain line, certain boundaries, ethical boundaries that they cannot cross. Medication is one of them. Coaches do not treat mental health disorders. So if you've been diagnosed with something like major depressive disorder, or you've been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, that means there's been some trauma in your life. You would not go to a mental health coach, a life coach, to help you to navigate that. Okay, you need a therapist. All right, I hope this is making sense, because coaches are not licensed mental health professionals. Hey, Sade, illegal equal malpractice loafers, right? And if you do those types of things, you are going to jail. Like, and I used this example the other day. If a mental health coach or a life coach, which is good, I have nothing against mental health coaches. Again, I'm doing this program to train and to certify you. Nothing really against life coaches until we cross the line. If you have someone, for example, that is suicidal, and you are giving them mental health coaching, and then God forbid something happens and they decide to end their life, you as a coach could be held liable for the actions that they did, right? Because you were outside of your scope of practice. You were beyond your boundaries, right? You didn't have the tools and the training that you needed to effectively help them and equip them. And so their survivors could hold you liable for their death. Okay. So there's a lane for coaches, and you have to make sure that you stay in your lane. This is why training is necessary if you desire to be a coach of any kind. Okay, so I hope you now understand some of the differences between a mental health coach or a life coach and a therapist. Again, coaches don't diagnose, therapists can. Coaches don't prescribe medication or speak to medication. As therapists, we don't prescribe medication either unless we have an MD, right? But we can speak to medication. We can give psychoeducation about medication. A coach can't do that. Coaches do not treat mental health disorders, and coaches are not licensed professionals. So who can be a mental health coach? Okay, because you may be hearing this, either you desire to do some coaching or some therapy, or you want to become a coach. So who can become a coach? It's very simple. Anybody who is trained. That's it. So anybody who is trained can say that they are a mental health coach. Listen to this though, because there is no licensing board for coaches, as there is for therapists and doctors and all of that. There is no licensing board that those coaches are accountable to. There are no state regulations. So in short, what I'm saying to you guys is anybody can say that they are a coach. Okay, you don't have to have an advanced degree. You can just say, I'm a coach, right? And people can decide whether or not they're going to accept that. The good thing about training, though, is that you can be, just like in the spiritual sense, you can be tracked and traced. Like you can be traced back to, okay, I went through this training program. I have this certification. I went to this school. I went through this program. Okay. And so, again, you don't have to have an advanced degree. What you do need is training and a desire to learn. Let me pause for the calls and let's just check. Is there anybody in the chat that feels like, well, I want to be a coach. I want to be a life coach, a mental health coach. Like that's something that I'm interested in. Because listen, the fact of the matter is we need both. We need therapists and we need coaches because of the mental health demands that we have experienced in this country, in particular, the United States of America, and the ones that we will experience in the days ahead. We need more people in the mental health field, so to speak, that can help people navigate. So, as a coach, you may not be able to help people navigate like a therapist can, but you can do your part. And there is a part for you to play, right? So, we actually need both therapists and coaches because of the demand and because some people won't go to therapy. They just won't, right? Some people need therapy but won't go, and then they'll go to a coach. But again, that coach has to stay within ethical boundaries. All right. So you guys have heard that I have this coaching program that is now available. All right. I look forward to that. I'm on Instagram. I see you, AI. You're going to sign up. We only have 5, well, actually 4, because as I was talking a few moments ago, I saw on my phone that somebody just registered. So now we have 4, count them, 4 spots left. If you sent me a message, hey, hold my spot, I'm trying. I'm not sure if we're going to open up anymore. I need to keep this a little compact. So 25 is a good number. But we have 4 left. Get in while you can, get in where you fit in. All right. So you've heard that I have this program, and you may be wondering, like, what is the difference in your program, Dr. Smith, and other programs out here? Let's talk about that. Because again, a lot of people do a lot of different things. There are a lot of programs now that will certify you as a health coach, a mental health coach, a life coach, a healing coach, all the things. But what makes this different? Here's what makes it different. Number one, it's me. And there's only one me, right? I am Dr. Joshua Smith. That's not an arrogant statement. That's who I am. All right. And so the second thing that makes it different is that it is an integrated faith-based approach, right? It is an integrative faith-based approach. My soul healing model, which is what I use to do this training, it is holistic. It is an integrative approach to emotional health and wellness that merges psychological principles and theology. So it merges psychology and theology, it merges faith and mental health in order to equip you to come alongside of individuals as they do the work of the journey to wholeness. All right. So the curriculum is also trauma informed. Now, let me speak to that for just a moment. When I say trauma informed, I do not mean that I am training coaches to treat trauma. Okay. And I want you to put this in whatever perspective that fits you, because you may go to a coach, a life coach, a mental health coach, a health coach, and you may take your trauma to them. If they try to work through trauma with you, you should really back away from that, because coaches are not trained, they're not equipped, they're not licensed to treat mental health disorders. Okay. And so what I'm not doing in this program, when I say trauma informed, I'm going to explain that, but that doesn't mean that I'm training coaches to treat trauma. Only Jesus and therapists can do that. Okay. Only Jesus and therapists can treat trauma. Okay. What I am training coaches to do, listen to this, is to be aware of trauma, to understand trauma, and to understand and to learn how to help hurting people under this premise. What is the premise? The premise is, it is not what is wrong with you, it is what has happened to you. That's what we mean when we say trauma informed. We come at everything from the perspective that is not what is wrong with you, it's not your behavior. No, something happened to you that has influenced or informed your behavior. Yeah. Trauma informed also says that when we encounter people in our everyday lives, when we encounter people in our offices, when we encounter people on our jobs, in our families, even, especially in the church, when we encounter people, when we have a trauma informed mindset, that lends us to understand that most of the people that we deal with have had some type of trauma. Okay. So we approach everything in every situation with the understanding, with the assumption that this person has experienced at least one traumatic event in their lifetime. And with the numbers as high as they are, or as it relates to trauma and people who experience trauma, we can make that assumption safely. There are a lot of people, over 50% of people in this country, millions and millions of people have experienced trauma. Okay, so that's what I mean when I say trauma informed. Can somebody type that? Trauma informed. Trauma informed. So again, it's not what is wrong with you, it is what has happened to you. And so even coaches need to have a working understanding of what trauma is. Not that you're going to treat trauma, that's illegal for a coach. You don't have a license, but you can come at your clients, or you can deal with your clients from the understanding that everyone has had some type of trauma in their life. So this means our churches need to be trauma informed, right? Everything needs to be trauma informed, because we're dealing with a lot of trauma in our nation. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind as you're talking to people, that you're dealing with broken people. So trauma informed gives you more of an awareness of that, and it helps you to walk people through what you can walk them through. And we're going to talk about that in the program. Listen, this is not a gimmick. This is not a fast track to make anybody a wannabe therapist. Okay, that's not what my program is about. Because as a licensed clinician, better than anybody, I know and understand what those lines are, right? What those ethical boundaries are. And so I'm going to be teaching you how to stay within your ethical limits, or what we call your scope of practice, so you don't go to jail. All right. Now, someone asked me a couple of days ago, like, how do I navigate being a coach and a therapist? Because there is some overlap. So let me explain that now. I've been a coach for several years now, actually before I was a licensed therapist. While I was working on my hours to become a licensed therapist, I was a coach. And so I would explain this to people. There's a document that I had them sign, and I still do mental health coaching, but there was a document that I would have them to sign that they acknowledge that this is not therapy. We're focused on the here and now. We're working on coping skills. We're working on setting goals, because mental health coaching is also about accountability. Yeah. And so that's what we're working on. So I did that for years. And once I became a licensed therapist, mental health coaching is still a part of my business model. Right. So I will get people now that are in other states. If I have someone to reach out to me from New York, okay, I don't have a clinical license in New York. So what I say to them is, if you fall within a certain category, if you have certain qualifications, so to speak, I can bring you on as a mental health coaching client, but I can't be your therapist. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. So if someone comes to me and says, I have a whole lot of trauma that I need to unpack, and they're in another state, can't do it. I have to help you now be referred out to another therapist who is licensed in your state, because as a mental health coach, I can't do that. And as a therapist that's only licensed in 2 states, I can't bring you on as a therapy client. Okay. And so in my mental health coaching certification program, I'm going to be training you all how to know the difference between which clients you should take and which clients you should not take, because their issue is beyond your scope of practice. It is beyond what you have been trained to do. It is beyond what you're legally and ethically allowed to handle. All right. So why? This is my last thing, and then I'm going to take any questions that you all have. You may be asking, why become a mental health and wellness coach? Well, if you want to help people heal, then that's a good reason to become a mental health coach. If you're saying, I have a passion for helping people, for talking to people, for working with people, for encouraging people, but I don't want to become like a fully licensed therapist, because that takes time, which is why there are so many ethical lines that you can't cross, because it takes 3,000 plus hours in some states of supervision, a master's degree, um, fees, continuing education, like all the things to become and to remain a therapist. So if you're like, I don't want to go that route and I don't want to really dig into people's lives like that, I want to help people, but I don't want to go that deep, mental health coaching might be for you. Okay. Another reason to become a mental health coach is that it can become a stream of income for you. When done correctly and done ethically, mental health coaching can be a stream of income for you. Okay. So, as a mental health coach, you get to help individuals build emotional awareness and resilience. You get to teach practical tools and strategies for stress management and emotional wellness. You get to support people in their growth, bring them into greater clarity, help them with personal development. That's one of the top things that coaches of any kind do, help us with personal growth and development. You get to make a meaningful impact while doing work that has a purpose, right? So, a part of your purpose is connected to helping people. This is a good way to get the skills and the training that you need to say, I didn't just pop up and say, I want to do this. No, I actually went through some training. And again, it can create an income stream that is aligned with your calling and your purpose, right? So, we have 4 seats left in this program. Um, and I want to just entertain any questions that you guys may have. Excuse me. I hope that you got something out of this, whether it was my first part, the first prophetic little piece there about building in 2026 being the year to build, whether it was information about whether you should get a coach or a therapist or both, or whether it was about how can I become a mental health coach. I hope that you got something out of this. Question that I see, will that be a part of the course and program? Okay, so let me know which part you are speaking to. Will what be a part of the course and program? Okay, any other questions while I'm waiting on that response? Again, we're not training coaches to be therapists. That's not what we're doing. We're not turning you into therapists, but we are teaching you how to stay within your limits, stay within your scope of practice, and still help people. I truly believe that mental health coaches need to come alongside therapists and help. And again, help with this mental health load that we have in our country. But as a coach, you're not a therapist, right? So I'm going to, again, be training how to make the distinction between the two and how to make sure that you don't go to jail. All right. Any questions on Instagram? All right. There's a question. Do you recommend, excuse me, having a referral list for clients, for therapists? Absolutely. So I am a firm believer in not crossing ethical lines and not having dual relationships, to the point that when I was actively pastoring, I would not counsel members. I would not counsel members as a licensed counselor because I didn't want to have a dual relationship with the sheep or with the congregation. So what I would do is I would have a list of therapists that if someone asks, I would do like general counseling, kind of like coaching, or what I would call spiritual advisement, which that is also a part of my mental health coaching model. So I'll be teaching you how to do spiritual advisement. But to answer your question, I would always have a list of therapists that I could refer them to. Yep. So we're going to talk about that, even how to know when to refer out. How to know when you hit that line where you're like, I need to refer. But if you don't know, you don't know. So you need the training. And many people have a passion for mental health. They have a passion to help people, but they don't know how to go about it. They don't know what the ethical and legal limits are. This program, we're going to really, really dig into that and drive that heavily. On Instagram, Questions being asked: how long is your training? Okay, you've already answered. Thank you, AI. It is 8 weeks. Yep, it is an 8-week training. It will be held on Thursday evenings at 6 p.m. Central, starting March the 12th. So we have a couple of months to go. But again, the program is already filling up. We have now three spots left. Okay, so if you're coming, come on. Is this training similar to the inner healing? Yes and no. So inner healing, I'm answering questions on Instagram. Facebook, you can't see these questions. Inner healing is more of a spiritual element. It is a part of my holistic model. So that's what makes my coaching certification program different, is that I focus on the whole man, body, soul, and spirit. So the natural interventions, the spiritual interventions combined to help people along their journey to wholeness. And so, yes, inner healing is a part of that. We're going to even talk about what happens if it comes up in session that someone needs deliverance. How do you handle that? Okay, so we're going to deal with that. So yes, to that question, it's not similar to inner healing, but inner healing is one of the components, that I'll be talking about. Good to see you, Pastor Ron Pitts. That was my question. How do you draw the line or differentiate between pastoral counseling and coaching? Yeah, so I really view, in many ways, and it's not this cut and dry, but in many ways, I view pastoral counseling and coaching as kind of the same, because you're really helping people in the here and now. You're helping them with strategy. You're helping them to think things through, to get clarity, to get insight, to even get some level of tools like some emotional regulation kind of strategy. But one of those lines that you often hit as a pastor or a minister is when people are dealing with trauma. So as you begin to talk to them, you see that there's some deep rooted stuff. The book of John, chapter 5, talks about the man who laid by the pool for 38 years. The Amplified Classic Version said that he had deep-seated issues. So that means that he didn't just have physical ailments or physical issues. He had psychological issues. There was something going on in his soul. And I'm not going to teach you that tonight, because that's actually a part of my curriculum. But there are some deep-seated things that once you start really talking to people and dealing with people, you'll know, right? And if you go through this program, this certification program with me, you're going to really, really know, because I'm going to drill that in you. You're going to know when you hit that line or when you're about to hit it. But trauma is one good example of a line that you hit even as a pastor. And I always tell pastors and ministers, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. So just like if I had a toothache, I would not go to my mechanic. If I have trauma, I'm not going to my pastor. Bold statement, but yeah, that's what it is. So I'm not going to take the right problem to the wrong person. Okay. So I'm really adamant about even training pastors. So I encourage pastors to get in on this as well, so that you have some tools in your tool belt to help coach members. These are some very good questions. Anybody else have a question? Again, I'm here talking through what is the difference between mental health coaching and therapy. I am doing an 8-week program to train and to certify mental health coaches. And so, yeah, that's coming up. We have now 3 seats left. All right. Do you use a specific model like solution focus or cognitive therapy? I'm not going to give all of that away, but I will say that I use an assimilative integration model. So there are a few things that I kind of mix together and put it with faith in order to make the soul healing difference be the difference. I'll also add this, that I train therapists as well. So I have a whole model, an even deeper model that I use to train therapists. But I take a piece of that off of the training model for therapists to train coaches, but the trainings are not the same. So if you are a licensed therapist listening to me right now, or watching this replay, as long as I leave it up. If you're a licensed therapist, provisionally licensed therapist, if you are a psychiatric nurse practitioner, if you are a psychologist, if you are a social work or counseling intern, you can go through my other program that is specifically for therapists. Now, only licensed or provisionally licensed therapists can be certified in that, but you can go through that level 1 training. But that's a completely different program. Send me an email or an inbox if you want information. All right, so the link is in the chat. I'm going to also put it here in the comment section. Just go to my website, www.thejoshuasmith.com. That's THE, joshuasmith.com. Let me see if I can give you guys that on IG. Because y'all got some good questions and engagement on IG. So if you go to my website, right there on the homepage, you're going to see a graphic, and I'm going to put that graphic up so you'll know that you're on the right page. When you go to my website, thejoshuasmith.com, you're going to click this graphic, and it is going to take you to my my site for Soul Healing University. Okay, so that is my school that I use to train therapists and coaches and even leaders in ministry. So Soul Healing University will pop up, and you'll be able to read all of the information, get some questions answered, and sign up. So guys, there is, you can pay it in full. There's also a good payment plan option. If you select the payment plan, it will take the first payment today. The next payment will be January 28th. Okay, so it is 4 payments in that payment plan if you want to take advantage of that. Okay, and I'll put that back up shortly. Okay, now Dr. Hayes mentioned that he needs my coaching. So let me speak to that as well. If you need me as your mental health coach, I'm not just training because I can't do. No, I do and train. So I'm training more mental health coaches because of the load that we see in mental health now, and even the load I'm experiencing. I can't get to everybody, but right now I do have some openings to bring anybody on that wants to coach with me. Okay, so if you're outside of the states of Texas and Mississippi, you may qualify to be a mental health coaching client of mine. And you can also look for that information on that same website, www.thejoshuasmith.com. Okay. Any more questions? We're about to wind down. Because I still have to eat. All right, so I'm going to start landing the plane. It's been so good having you guys. Thank you, those that have watched on Instagram. That's new for me, so looks like it's working. I may do that in the future. So thank you to those that watched on Instagram, Facebook. Y'all are always here and hanging in, so thank you. And YouTube, my YouTube people, I appreciate you guys as well. Again, we now have 3 seats left in this program. And so if you feel like this is for you, that you want this training, you want this certification so that you can help other people, go to my website, www.thejoshuasmith.com. That is THE, joshuasmith.com. You're going to look for this graphic right here on the home page. Click it. It'll take you to the checkout and also give you all the information that you need. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot me an inbox. Excuse me. Feel free to shoot me an inbox, DM, or an email. All right. Thank you guys. I look forward to seeing you in the training.